Most people wake up in the morning to start their day, but Daniel Carter woke up to continue his day. He worked 3 jobs, a warehouse worker, a gas station cashier, and a night shift janitor. He didn't have dreams anymore, just bills, responsibilities, and a heart that refused to quit. Daniel lived in a tiny one-room apartment in the rough side of Detroit. The walls were cracked, the heater barely worked, and the rent took almost everything he earned. But to Daniel, it was still a gift, a place to rest his head, even for a few hours. Every morning at 5:30 a.m., he dragged himself out of bed, rubbed his burning eyes, and whispered, "One more day, one more step. I won't break." His warehouse shift started at 7 a.m. The work was hard, lifting, pushing, loading trucks, but he never complained. Complaining didn't make the pain go away. Bills didn't care. Life didn't pause. His coworkers often looked at him and wondered how he never seemed to slow down. "Bro, when do you even sleep?" If one asked. Daniel laughed, sometimes on the bus ride home. But deep inside, he felt the weight of his exhaustion like a stone on his chest. He was tired of being broke, tired of surviving, tired of wishing for a life he couldn't reach. Still, he kept going, because he remembered his mother's final words before she passed away. "No matter how hard life gets, Danny, never let it kill your hope. Hope." That was all he had left. One cold morning, while lifting a heavy box, Daniel felt a sharp pain shoot through his back. The world went blurry. He dropped the box and held onto the railing. His supervisor rushed over. "You okay, man?" Daniel nodded weakly. "Yeah, just need a minute." But he wasn't okay, not even close. He had worked himself to the edge, physically, mentally, emotionally. He knew something had to change. He just didn't know what or how. And that was when life took an unexpected turn. One afternoon, during his 10-minute break, Daniel sat alone in the warehouse break room. His hands were shaking. His back throbbed. He was running purely on pain and willpower. That's when a new worker, an older man named Mr. Lewis, walked in and sat next to him. "You look like you're carrying the world on your shoulders," he said. Daniel chuckled. "Feels like it. You work hard," the old man said. "But what do you really want?" Daniel froze. Nobody had ever asked him that. I just want a better life," he whispered. "For yourself?" Mr. Lewis asked. "Yeah, and so no one sees me as a failure." The old man nodded slowly. "What's your dream, son?" Dream, a word Daniel hadn't used in years. "I don't know anymore," he said quietly. Mr. Lewis smiled. "You know, people don't lose dreams. They just bury them under pain, responsibility, and fear."
Daniel didn't respond, but those words hit him harder than any shift he had ever worked. Before leaving, the old man said something that changed Daniel forever. "Your pain is your message, and one day someone will need to hear it. Don't waste it." Daniel didn't fully understand what it meant, but the sentence kept echoing in his head for days. His life wasn't glamorous. He didn't have money, fame, or even stable sleep, but he did have something most people didn't.
A story of survival. Late at night while sweeping floors as a janitor, he started talking to himself, motivational lines he wished someone had told him when he was struggling. "Don't quit. You're stronger than your circumstances. Your future is bigger than your past. You don't need perfect, just progress." And for the first time, his words didn't feel like lies. They felt like the truth he needed to hear. One night, a coworker overheard him. "Bro, you sound like a motivational speaker or something." The man laughed. "You should make videos instead of working 3 jobs. Daniel smiled, but the idea stuck in his mind. A motivational speaker, someone who inspired others. Him, the thought seemed ridiculous. Yet, something inside him whispered, "Why not?" Daniel didn't have a camera. He didn't have a good phone. He didn't have time, but he had desperation. And desperation is sometimes the birthplace of greatness. After weeks of thinking, he borrowed his sister's old cracked smartphone. At 2 a.m., during his janitor shift, he sneaked into an empty office. He set the phone against a stack of books, pressed record, and said the first words that came to his heart. "If you're tired, if you're broke, if you're fighting invisible battles, I'm with you. I'm living it, and I'm telling you, don't give up." His voice shook. He felt silly, but he kept talking. He talked about waking up tired, working nonstop, feeling hopeless, and still pushing forward. He talked about breaking generational poverty, about not letting failures define you, about becoming your own hero. When he finished, his hands were trembling. He uploaded the video on TikTok. He expected nothing, absolutely nothing. The next morning, during his warehouse shift, his phone buzzed. Once, twice, 5 times, 10 times. He checked it during break. 10,452 views, 2,300 likes, hundreds of comments. People wrote, "Bro, I felt this in my soul. Thank Thank you for this. I needed these words tonight. Who are you? Please post more. You made me cry. Keep speaking. Daniel sat there staring at his phone, stunned. People actually listened. People actually cared. People actually needed him. That night, he cried alone in his tiny apartment. Not tears of sadness, tears of release. For the first time, he felt seen. So he recorded another video, and another, and another. He didn't have lighting, equipment, studio, or perfect English. All he had was raw truth. And the world loved it. Within a month, he reached 200,000 followers. People started calling him the working warrior, the man who never quit, the voice of the struggle. And for the first time in his life, Daniel felt like he was becoming someone he could be proud of. As Daniel's videos spread, something amazing happened. People from all over America started messaging him. Your words stopped me from giving up. You changed my life. I watch your videos before every shift. You helped me survive depression. Every comment pushed Daniel further. Soon, podcasts invited him. YouTubers reached out. Students asked him to speak at schools. Companies wanted him for events. But Daniel had a problem. He was still working 3 jobs. He barely had time to shower, let alone travel and speak. But every time he thought of turning down an invitation, he remembered, your pain is your message. One day, he received an email from a community center offering him $250 to speak for 20 minutes. $250. That was almost 1 week of janitor work. He stared at the email for hours. His hands shook. His heart pounded. He clicked yes. He took a day off from one job, borrowed formal clothes from a friend, and traveled by bus to the event. He stood backstage, nervous, sweating, heart racing. What am I doing here? He whispered. When his name was called, he walked on stage, shy, scared, unsure. But then he saw something. People were waiting for him. People who believed in him. People who needed him. He took a deep breath. My name is Daniel, and I'm no different than you. I work 3 jobs. I struggle. I break. But I refuse to quit because someone out there needs the story I'm living right now. The audience leaned in. For 20 minutes, he poured his soul out. Every pain, every lesson, every moment he wanted to give up but didn't. When he finished, he heard something he had never expected. A standing ovation. People hugged him. People cried. People thanked him. And Daniel knew this wasn't the end. It was the beginning. Daniel continued posting videos and speaking at small events. His following crossed 1 million. His inbox overflowed with, please come speak at our school. Can you motivate our employees? Your story saved my marriage. You made me believe in myself. One night during his janitor shift, he leaned on his broom and whispered, this is not my final chapter, is it? The next morning, he walked into his warehouse job with a resignation letter. His supervisor looked shocked. You serious, Daniel? You're one of my best workers. Daniel smiled softly. I know, but it's time for me to build the life I kept dreaming about. He resigned from his 2nd job, then his 3rd. For the first time in years, he slept, he rested, he breathed. And he worked harder than ever before, not for survival, but for purpose. He created better videos, he started a YouTube channel, he launched a podcast, he wrote his first book titled Unbreakable, The Journey from 3 Jobs to Self-Belief. The book became a bestseller within weeks. He started getting invitations from large conferences, then from corporations, then from international events. His speaking fee went from $250 to $1 nut. Soon, Daniel was speaking in front of 10,000 people standing under bright lights, with cameras flashing and audiences cheering his name. And every time he stepped onto a stage, he remembered the tired man who used to sweep floors at 3 a.m., the man who barely slept, the man who fought silently. He had become what he once needed, a voice of hope. 2 years later, Daniel walked onto a massive stage in New York City. It was his biggest event yet. 20,000 people in the arena. The lights were blinding, the air electric, the crowd roaring. As he stepped up to the microphone, he closed his eyes for a second, remembering the man he used to be, the warehouse worker, the gas station cashier, the janitor, the man who felt invisible. He opened his eyes, looked at the audience, and smiled. 2 years ago, he began, I was sweeping floors during a night shift, wondering why life was so hard. I worked 3 jobs and felt like I was sinking every single day. But I realized something. The crowd leaned forward. Your circumstances don't decide your future. Your choices do. He told them about pain, about exhaustion, about hopeless nights, about the old phone and his first video, about the comments that saved him, about the stranger in the break room who said the words that changed everything. I'm not here because I'm special, he said said, "I'm here because I refuse to quit on myself." The audience stood and clapped louder than he had ever heard. When he walked off the stage, tears filled his eyes. He finally understood. He wasn't born a speaker. He wasn't born confident. He wasn't born successful. He built himself, piece by broken piece, day by painful day. And now he had one mission, to help millions do the same. Daniel Carter, once a man working 3 jobs, had become one of the most influential motivational speakers in America. And he wasn't done yet, because the greatest stories are the ones still being written.